Lots of people really sad about Charlie Watts, who just waking up. The Rolling Stones drummer, joined them in 1963, has died aged 80. We'll play lots of Stones music throughout the morning. Right, let's change the subject entirely, and this is very present and very real for us. Imagine this Delta outbreak is having a tiger by the tail, and the tiger can divide. What we now know is that there are 6 significant subclusters, same source, but moving through different communities or different parts of the community. And one of them is the Assembly of God Church in Mangere, which, as Ashley Bloomfield said, was an assembly of assemblies, really, with 58 cases to have come from it to date. But Dr. Bloomfield told us something else, and this is really serious. Pacifica peoples account for more than half of the current community cases in New Zealand's Delta outbreak. In part, we know this is because the main quarantine hotel, Auckland Airport, and many of the businesses who serve it, and many of the people who work at those businesses are in that part of Auckland, the broader Mangere area with its large Pacifica population. But surely this raises public health questions we need to better address. Messaging, vaccination, support. What can we do better? We're very grateful to have joining us now Tonga New Zealand community leader Pakilau Manase Lua and Auckland City Councillor Pa'anana Efeso Collins, Maluelele, Toleafoa, Morena Korua. It is so nice to have you distinguished gentlemen with us. Efeso, I'm going to start with you because you've been on breakfast just hammering this message over and over again. There is a top-down paternalism that isn't reaching some people with this messaging, right?
Langi mama Toleafoa and to your viewers this morning. I think what's really important to understand is that it's affected a lot of our people. I would say it was unnecessary to name the fact that they were Samoan, the particular church. I think that's been a misstep. I know that the Ministry of Health have a lot going on, but I think it was a misstep to name them as Samoan. Because what it's done is it's opened the floodgates to what's been on social media, and much of the social media commentary has been quite detestable and obnoxious. So I think it's important that we realise as a nation it's important to remain compassionate, forbearing and patient with people. We haven't seen too much of that. And it's important we correct that imbalance, and rather than spend too much time on Reddit or Twitter arguing over whether they were Samoan or not, is that we really understand how people are coping with this at the moment. So yeah, I think it's been a misstep. Let's correct it and let's do better as a nation, because I think we can be better.
Pakilau Manase Lua, I want to come to you in a sec, but I just want to stay on that point, Efeso, and I think I'm gripped by the fact that the only time we talk about ethnicity when we're discussing COVID is when it's in the Pacifica communities or when it's in the Māori community. We never have a discussion about the predominantly North Shore Pākehā communities, right? So there is a stigmatising here, and getting COVID is beyond your control. So we need to take the racism that is implicit in some of this and explicit in some of the stuff you're talking about, and I've seen it too. We need to take it out of the conversation, right? But we also need to better target communities that aren't getting messages at the moment.
And I think one of the challenges we've had right from the beginning is ensuring that we've got Pacifica voices that are at the planning and design stage. And I think that's what's been missing. We've had our own people like Dr. Talemei Tonga, Dr. Colin Tukui Tonga, who've been crying out for this for a long time now. Get us at the planning stages, make sure that we're part of the discussion at the delivery. This isn't let's, hire a Samoan or a Tongan when it's necessary, get them for their expertise, and then they're out the door again. And if you look at what we're doing at a very local grassroots level, whether it's South Seas, the Whono, Otara Health, OSAC, those communities are able to reach widely into the community, ensure that people understand the processes of the vaccination, and work through some of the hesitancy that may have been existing before, and really assure our communities. That's what's been missing from the beginning. So I'm doubtful that we're any further along in this process, but we've got to get our people into the design and planning stage.
Yeah, Pakilau or Aotearoa Manase Lua, can I bring you in now? And I'm just looking at a statement from the Pacific Leadership Forum, and it exactly echoes what Whānana Efeso Collins was just saying, and I quote, "To increase Pacific vaccination numbers requires a by-community, for-community approach that is a bottom-up approach," right? No one gets into the community like people in the community. Do we need to do way more of that?
Malolo Marie Toleafoa, Mawhanana. Yes, absolutely, John. We need to work with the communities. End of the day, we know our communities better than anybody else. In fact, last year we called for the government to work alongside the forum and also with the church leaders and the churches themselves. You would have seen the spike in testing at the Aotearoa station, largely due to the Pacific Leadership Forum pushing for our people to get vaccinated. And so when you work with the community, when you listen and when you partner with them, things happen.
Yes, and we can see the power of the communities actually in a perverse kind of way. When there's an assembly of assemblies of God in the Assembly of God Church in Mangere, we get 58 people as a result of COVID outbreak. If we were using access to those congregations to do our messaging around COVID and vaccination, that would be very powerful, Manase Lua.
Absolutely, absolutely. You hit it on the nail, John. If we had worked with churches all along, we were saying this in April last year during the first lockdown, come with us, help our ministers be essential workers. We requested that they be seen as essential workers. They have a pastoral care duty for our communities, yet the government didn't put them in as essential workers. They could have been part of the messaging for getting the testing done from the beginning and then switch from testing to vaccination. It's just a no-brainer. Churches are strategically located all over our community. You throw a rock, you'll find a church in South Auckland. So you could have put testing hubs and vaccination hubs all over South Auckland rather than a clinic 20 kilometres there, clinic 20 kilometres there. You got the community right there.
Manase Lua, you said that you've been saying this since last April. Is there a sense of frustration now, growing frustration?
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is the thing. Our communities have gone to these official-led government bureaucracy forums with 600 people on a screen. How are they going to voice their concerns? You need to come to each group, ethnic-specific group, the Tongans, Cook Islanders, Niueans. We're all brothers and we're all cousins, but we're all different as well. The key here is ethnic-specific, targeted approaches that work.
Efeso Collins, is the ministry listening? Is the bureaucracy listening? Is the people in charge? And if we look at the messaging, I would say, as a middle class English speaking Pakilau, that it's been extremely effective at talking to me. Has it been as effective as talking to people who are different from me?
I don't think it has been as effective. What we need is the constant reminders. We've had people from the marketing department and psychology departments at the universities telling us you need consistent, constant marketing. And I think who's been missing are groups like Pacific Media Network, Radio 531 PI, Radio Samoa, Radio Tarana in these instances, where you've got the community who are talking in their own languages and getting much better reach into the community. I think the other part that's also been missing is community workers. Pakilau Manase is right. If we had church ministers that were, I guess, essential workers, if you had youth workers and social workers part of this program, they're able to get into the families. And so it's not just about, let's talk about the vaccination. It's about understanding whether these families need educational support, have the kids got the devices that they need for school, do they need food or care parcels. All of that happens at a face-to-face level, and it's our community workers, whānau ora navigators, who are able to get those messages right into the community. And for me, that's been the failure from the beginning by the Ministry of Health, is our people haven't been at the planning and design stages, and as a result of that, we're being clipped on at the end when we've reached emergency status rather than have us right at the beginning.
You wouldn't have seen it, Efeso Collins, but Manase Lua was nodding away in agreement with you. So I want to end with recommendations from both of you. Let's start with you, Whaanana Efeso Collins. What is it that we need to do to play catch-up?
We need to have our people at the table do things with us, not to us. And we need to ensure that our messaging isn't just about the constant reminders, but it's messaging that invites all of New Zealanders, every Kiwi, to dig deep into their own, into our national psyche, our national soul, and be patient and compassionate. And that's why I think we've got to get that double-edged sword right. We've got people here. You've got people on your screen today. Pakilau is there. He's available. He's got a leadership forum that everyone is willing to assist. Let's use everybody, utilise everyone's skills, because that's what the whānau of 5 million is, a really diverse range of people with diverse skills, not just a small group of people who plan much of this rollout from a Wellington tower.
Pakilau, Manase Lua, how would you like us to play catch-up? What do we need to do?
John, the communities have already met We've established a plan. The Tongan community has been meeting together for the last 5 days. They've come up with a group that have formulated a vaccination plan, a testing plan to push things along. The communities have the solutions. In fact, we also had a youth forum last night of Tongans who have been pushing a survey of 800 people, 800 young people, because they're the key. You know, this is where the problem with the vaccination lies. They're not targeting our youth. The youth need to be at the table. So we've got a co-chair who is Melissa, who's been part of this program. She's at Otago University, and she's co-chairing that forum with myself. And we've been asking young people, what do you want? What's the problem? Why aren't you getting vaccinated? And they're telling us the issues why they're not getting vaccinated. And we're listening. Thing is, those guys up in that tower that Efeso is talking about, they're not listening. They need to come to the community, talk to us. We've been offering that invite all year, and even from last year. I think that's the key there, John. Malo Pito.
Pakilau, Manase Lua and Fa'anana Efeso Collins, thank you both so much for joining us this morning, Tēnā kōrua. We so appreciate your time, and we will take what you're saying and we will put it to the government. Thank you.
Malo.
Malo.